Hey everybody, it's Brett with the Indie Comics Dispatch and broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep within the Milky Way galaxy. This is broadcast from the Dispatch.
If you got a story and you want the world to know it, if you think you ready and you ain't afraid to show it, throw your hands up high, yeah, we might stand out. We always representing cause that's what it's all about. We always representing cause that's what it's all about. And if you love some indie comics, let me hear you shout. Like, just stay tuned, what's the story? Had to get that every time a brand new indie comic from the Dispatch.
Good evening, everybody. Again, Brett, Indie Comics Dispatch. We are back. I missed the last show. I was on vacation. I was at the beach. Brian held things down. It was a great episode. I had a chance to catch up on it. That'll be available on the podcast very soon. Hopefully tomorrow, depending upon my workflow tonight. But yeah, great show about starting a comic book publishing company. Had some great guests on. And it was a really good show. Brian did a great job last week. Brian, as you will notice, is not here at this moment. He may join us later. He's gotten caught up. I thought he was actually on another show. That's what I told our guests he was, but I just heard he got caught up at work meetings. He didn't even get to do the other show he was invited to kind of pop into. So Brian may join us. And if you want to help Brian and I and everybody at the Dispatch not be able to work, that's a lie. We'll always have to work. But you can become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $3 a month. Indie Comics Dispatch is a 501c3, so everything you donate does go directly towards the mission of Indie Comics Dispatch to promote and create a bigger, better, more diverse indie comic community. One that shines a light on the little guys, not just the big fish. So you can do that at patreon.com/Indie Comics Dispatch. That's comics with an X, Indie Comics Dispatch, for as little as $3. And it really does help. Our costs are not extreme. And so every bit does really actually go a long way. We make a dollar stretch. We want to thank our sponsor. We'll watch their sponsor spot in a little bit, but Comics Wellspring sponsors Indie Comics Dispatch as a corporate sponsor, and we are eternally grateful for that. We are big fans before they were sponsors of the folks at Comics Wellspring, and we are thankful for them for being sponsors. If you have any printing needs, printing, online store, fulfillment needs, Comics Wellspring does it all. Check them out at comicswellspring.com and learn more about their services. Tonight, we have a special guest. I like Doug. I hope other people like Doug. They do. I know they do. Doug Knight, creator of Cross-Eye Comics, has been a supporter of Indie Comics Dispatch for a long time now, well over a year, and which in terms of only being 2 years old is over half our life. And he has a Kickstarter that is launching tomorrow. We're here to talk about Chiasm. Doug, welcome to the show.
Oh no, the video again.
I can see you down below.
I can't see me.
Yeah, I can't see you on the live stream. Okay,
I'm gonna
welcome Mark also and see if that gives you time to figure out. I'm not sure what's happening with that.
I'm gonna refresh it and then
okay. All right. Okay. Also joining us this evening is Mark. Mark, is it Bernal or Bernal?
Either is fine. I'll go with Bernal because it doesn't burn at all.
Yeah, I can see you now, Doug. We got both of you guys.
See,
video and
all I need in my life to be better is Mark.
That's what we all say.
Well, Brett too.
And so we have Starbucks, and we also have another type of stimulant going on. So it's just going to be a hyped up show.
I tried to hide the show. I tried to hide the logo, man.
Oh, you may have, but I know Starbucks cup. I know Starbucks cup.
I have to pay for two because I found out the Doug Straight Edge.
What?
Yeah, we made a joke last night that if for whatever miraculous reason we hit the stretch goal of $1.5 million, I'll break straight edge.
1.5 million. You might do it. You might do it. So let's talk about your upcoming title, Chiasm, issue number 0. Now you have put out through 7, right?
Yeah, like I had up to 9 completed.
Okay.
But they're all digital. They're all on Comixology. And then Comixology did some weird voodoo where they were like, you have to convert everything to KDP for us to continue to distribute. And I was kind of like, I took that as an opportunity of like, I can either like do that and kind of get an understanding of like putting together my paperbacks, or I can just like dive in, restructure, and then like start hitting the physical copy thing hard. And that gave me an opportunity to kind of figure out how I wanted to do that. So I took one of the stories from issue 1 of Chiasm, and then I flushed it out by like an extra 7 pages and turned it into like a really funny kind of like heavy hitting anecdote. And then when I was done with that, I was like, this is good to go. So that's where I started, and it's where I'm at now.
That's really cool. So let's take a step back for a minute. I did just want to, for my own clarification, I wanted to know about issue 0. But let's talk about Chiasm, what it is. It's semi-autobiographical, biographical.
Hey man, lucky for you, I've had like a solid year and a half to dial in the elevator spiel. So it is a sci-fi retelling of my life as a childhood cancer survivor, except for Desmond Phillips. Instead of chemotherapy, they slapped an alien molecule in his brain.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. And so we're starting with issue 0. Where does this start in the timeline of everything? Is this an origin story, or is this something else?
I would say that it's post origin. It's more like your first supernatural event.
Okay.
So it's we're setting foot in like kids talking smack in a classroom. A challenge happens, and then like the aliens kind of do their hooliganism based off of their distaste for the head instructor.
Nice. Very cool. So I do want to take a second and just talk about you as a creator here. This is based on you just call it a sci-fi retelling. I love that term. Of what happened to you as a child, as a cancer survivor. But how did you go from having this story to becoming a comic creator?
Well, being a general fan of comic books since day one didn't hurt. I started writing the story and like a Marvel method. So I draw it all and then I write it because it feels better for me to do that. But I started it in like 2019, around October 2019. And then obviously the dark years set upon the earth. And I took that time to work like a maniacal genius to complete what I was able to. But I guess just like I know that especially in the art community and the comic book community, if you don't take control over the thing that makes you unique, then you might send the wrong narrative of like a gimmick out there. So I think that like kind of creating a story that not only empowers people to embrace what may have set their life on a different trajectory, and also gives people a release for kind of like the real crumminess of dealing with again those same things is always kind of been in my wheelhouse. And I think that like again I as well, people don't know, but I've been a tattoo artist for the last decade as well. And my favorite part about that is the connection that you get one-on-one with the customer. You build a relationship over like 8-hour sessions or whatever. And then sometimes they come back. Sometimes it's just like a nice memory of a good conversation. But with getting into comic books and, more heavy into the art and design world, I get to reach out and really do my best to touch hopefully millions of people, right? Like I want this to be like something where it's like, everybody's fighting over how to pronounce chiasm.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to come back to tattoo artists in a minute, but I want to take a moment for Mark. He's here from Lesser Known Comics, partnered with us on this latest edition of Tales from the Dispatch. Super excited to have partnered with you, Mark. And it sounds like we're going to be getting some comics soon out there, some physical comics out there soon. So that's really cool. I can't wait to see those in the hands of some people. But Mark, take a minute and tell us about Lesser Known Comics, and then how you got connected with Doug.
Yeah. So, Mark Bernal, I've been on another episode, actually, one with Doug, was one of the other guests. But yeah, I accidentally started a comic book company during lockdown. And it was one of those things where I started working with a couple of artists to flesh out the concept art for a personal story of mine. And then I fell in love with all the artists, and I was like, okay, we're going to make a bunch of stories. And once I posted their stuff on Instagram, then other talented artists, and creators started approaching me and say, hey, can I make a book with you? Can I make a book with you? And before I realized how daunting all this was, I was just like, sure, yeah. I'm like that lady that adopts too many cats, and now I'm doing indie comics. I think we have about 20 creators that are making
Wow.
more than 20 books, and when Doug came into our orbit, I knew we wanted to do something together. We didn't really have all the details, but like we invited him into the group chat, and he like all of a sudden, like, he's the one who's like, the morale boost of the day, who's like, hey, what's everybody doing today? And like, posting all the art that he's doing, doing fan art and all sorts of awesome stuff for other, titles that are going out, and just super rad guy. And so on this, at bare bones, it's we'll be able to help with some logistics on, fulfillment in the US, vis-a-vis Canada. It's nice to have like, partnership, that traverses that border. But like the Chiasm story is super, just like, it's compelling. The art is like right up my alley with that like kind of like punk rock, feel. And the story is even more compelling. So we're here. I guess we're kind of operating kind of similar to an imprint, but not in any sort of way where Doug's taking direction from us. He's kind of like our rogue element, within the lesser known family, that's just like, we're doing all this shit, try and keep up.
That's awesome. So Doug, you mentioned you're a tattoo artist. So when stuff shut down in 2020, you were really, you were home.
Yeah, I was. There's also this other caveat that people tend to get taken back by. It's also renovate homes. So luckily, restrictions for home development were locked down for much less time, because the government was like, well, someone's got to make money for us. So I got to like work a little bit. But yeah, I was locked down. I was doing homeschooling with or not homeschooling, online schooling with my son, who at the time was in I guess SK, and so there was a lot of like, it was more like wrangling, right? So
Yep.
it was the benefit of being digital, because I was working like 15 minutes here, and then like, no, come back, and then another 15 minutes, and then, oh, you logged out again, okay, let me sign you back in. And like the whole time he was using my MacBook, right? So all the other kids are on Chromebooks and stuff. I'm like stressing over every single like drop of juice that goes airborne, but yeah, I think I utilized my time the best. And because like the sleep schedule during all that was so wacky, I was like pretty much nocturnal as well. So I got a lot done.
That's awesome. And I bring up the tattoo artist, and I guess you brought up the home renovation, which is another good point. And you're a comic book artist, comic book writer, and you are legally blind, right?
That's correct.
And that's from your childhood, correct?
Yeah, it's I have a brain tumor on my optic nerve. It sits like right dead center under on my pituitary gland, and then my toddler's trying to break into the garage, and then it broke pieces off of my optic nerves. So I get the full image through my eyeballs, and then by the time it gets to my brain, there's big disruptions in it. So my eyes are always kind of screwy and looking around because they're trying to avoid the blind spots that they don't know are there. So the best way, like there's two ways of describing it. It's like when your camera tries to autofocus all the time because it can't pick its subject up, or when your HDMI cables are like fried from being bent and like you're trying to game and like the screen keeps blipping on you. Like everything is there, but you've got to do a lot of filling in the blanks to make the experience tolerable.
Yeah. Wow. That's the first time you told me that, I was like, holy shit. Like, browsing through your comics that you've sent over and stuff, and the cover art and everything. I was like, no way. And then you told me you were a tattoo artist. I was like, no fucking way. Like,
I wear some pretty serious glasses.
That's so unbelievably cool and inspirational at the same time. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you probably don't think it's cool necessarily because it affects your life, but just from my side, that you still are following your passion is just amazing.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
totally. Oh, I was like, I embrace the unique aspect of what sets me apart from other people. I think the weight that I carry is that I'm hell bent on exceeding expectations of what normally sighted people or fully sighted individuals have of like what looks good. So it's like I'll finish a tattoo and like I won't even look at it for 3 weeks or something, because in my head I'm like kicking myself in the butt for like every aspect of it, like virtually anything that like I may think that other people see that I didn't see or something like that. So like, and then I'll go back to, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I'm still making money doing this, because I'm actually pretty good at it. But I think holding myself to that, like that strict a standard, it's what galvanizes my dedication to being amongst like the best as I climb the ladder, kind of thing. And what makes it easy to aspire to. It's not like I'm just rocking crayon art and saying like, look what I can do. It's I think that utilizing everything at my disposal to both preach self-advocacy and effectiveness, and then also representing myself well, right? Like it's real easy to say like, my tattoo moniker is the painting gorilla, right? And it's because of a story that a buddy of mine that apprenticed me told me about. When he did his first art show, he's like this 6'4" Viking dude named Thor, right? And all the punk rock guys from Toronto came and saw his show, and one guy comes up to him with a dart in his mouth. And he's like, "Hey, bro, this is cool." He's like, "Yeah, thanks, man. I worked really hard." It's like, "But you're kind of like that gorilla in the zoo that paints. Like people don't really care what the paint looks like. They just want to see the monkey with the brush, right?" And he was telling me that while he was tattooing me. I just I thought to myself, like, that's perfect. That's like, if I embrace the fact that people want to come for the gimmick, but then they get trapped by the execution, I think that's how I gotta like model myself and really push forward.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. Mark said you're like the optimist in the chat, like the daily morale boost, because every time I talk to you, whether it's on here or via Messenger, man, you're so happy, and you're a little ray of sunshine.
Like the emphasis on little, except for
little,
like little. Be like reassessment.
So one of the things I'm privy to as well is that there's this weird phenomenon that happens. So the artists, they do compliment each other in the group chat, but they usually like offline, like, pull me aside and say things, like that. I'm like, they're like, Doug's a machine. Like Doug, he like cranks out amazing art, like super fast. That's one of the things that like really has stood out to, to a few of them. And just like, go tell Doug that. Like, what are you telling me?
Mark, you really need to know Doug. He's really good. We're gonna pause real quick for a word from our sponsor, and then we're gonna talk Kickstarter.
What does it mean to feel inspired? To be moved, to be awed, to feel creative. Inspiration. It motivates us. It encourages us to create something epic. And the best part of it all is that it's all around us. Inspiration creates inspiration. Bring your stories to life and inspire your world. Print your comic books with Comics Wellspring.
I mean, how do you make comic book printing so fucking inspirational? I mean, I love Comics Wellspring. I love them. So let's talk Kickstarter now. And if one of you guys could drop, if you have the link ready, for the preview page in the chat, I will make sure we share it across channels. But Doug, this is your first Kickstarter, right?
Yep.
So what have you learned along the process of bringing this from something you were doing as a passion project, putting on Comixology, and now you're about to do your first crowdfunding? What has surprised you, or what has been different than you expected along that journey?
I guess in order to get ready to have a Kickstarter, I focused really hard on supporting Kickstarters. I know that I got in on your Kickstarter when you're going for your charity status, and I think that might have been my first or second one that I dove in on.
Really?
Same as Bigfoot Knows Karate and stuff. I think like since then, I've backed like I don't know, maybe 20 projects or something like that. So I've like my email, like my inbox is flooded, right, with like updates and stuff like that. So I've really picked up on that aspect of it. When it came time to building it, I felt as though I was like on top of it for the first couple weeks I was putting it together, and then like Mark and I started talking back and forth a little bit more vigorously, and now I've got maybe like an hour of tightening things up tonight before tomorrow we go live. I think it's just a matter of like being ready, and like knowing exactly, like obviously like knowing exactly what you're going to give people. One of the things for me is that like I'm like it's not that I anticipate disappointment or anything, but like I do prepare for every inevitability.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the um, I guess things about Kickstarters that I've kind of found is that like the people that do really good are the people that are ready to execute regardless of if they get like total backer support and if they hit their goals, right? And once you have that attitude and that confidence, I think people are like they want to hang out with the cool kid versus they want to like support you on your way to the dream. Like I think it's great if you have that like that, like the want to have the assistance from people. But in my case, if you just say, I'm going to go out and print things anyways, and have a head start of, regardless of the success of it, I think that's it. So like just being ready and then being a little bit more than ready. And then having somebody as incredible as Mark, beside you saying, hey, did you remember this part of it? And, me being able to say, nope, I'll get to it.
I do think that's really important, and something that a lot of maybe first-time creators or first-time Kickstarters don't do is that preview page, not the follow page, but where you can send somebody a full preview of your page and have somebody who's done it before look over it and be like, this is good, except add this. And having that kind of Kickstarter accountability buddy is an amazing thing. Mark, let's talk a little minute about Kickstarters, because you've done several at this point. How many Kickstarters has Lesser Known done?
This would be the fifth one that we're
That's what I was thinking.
either doing or as a collaborator. So and to Doug's point, I mean, I did a panel at Houston Comic Palooza And actually, Dan's in the chat. Dan was
Mhm.
there. Hello, Dan. You're always
Up, Dan.
seeing Dan.
How's that blueberry sunshine?
But one of the things I talked about is working with people who stuff will go wrong. There are always going to be things that will it won't work out the way you thought it was. Some things will go better than you anticipated. Some things will go worse than anticipated. And people who just go, okay, so what are we going to do now, right? And like, there's no finger pointing. There's no, just dwelling on the ifs, shoulds, if could, whatever, and it's like, let's move forward on it. And so, I think Doug has always had, that positive attitude. And then it's also to, the point he was talking about it with supporting other Kickstarters. One of the things that, like, when we vet folks to start making books with, I take a look at who's also in their network. Like, you can see on Instagram or whatever, like who else they follow, and you're like, okay, like, they're buddies with Drew Lenhart, they're buddies with Dan, they're buddies with Chad from Tardigrade Press, and you're like, they got a support network of people who they can ask those questions to. Anytime you get a question, you should shoot it out to like 3 or 4 different people, right? Because all of us, may not have all the answers, but we definitely have some very solid answers on potholes or pitfalls to avoid. So you're like, whoa. Yeah, I tried that thing. Don't do that. I'm not sure that what you have is pointed directly at, success, but you're at least not pointed at any of the pitfalls that we've encountered in the past. And that's hopefully, some of the best things that I can, pass forward with my personal experience.
That's awesome. What are some of those common things that you see first timers do that maybe they shouldn't, or some of those pitfalls?
I think sometimes people, I think a lot of people are surprised that 1.7% of your audience sees any given post that you make on social media.
Sometimes
so
less.
Yeah. So you feel a little bit like a carnival barker, being like, hey, my Kickstarter. Just little things, just making sure that, your links are straight and stuff like that. But it's all, I talked to a buddy, he did a, $63,000 Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
It's like, it didn't happen overnight. He said,
Right.
this is a succession of things. You just keep, rolling that snowball till it starts gaining traction, and some things will pick up steam. Some things will feel like you're stagnating, but, just keep creating dope comics and keep doing right by your backers. The rest's going to take care of itself. And, I have all the confidence that Doug's going to keep creating dope art, and 2 is going to do right by the backers.
That's awesome. So Doug, let's talk about your campaign. What can people expect to get out of it? What are some of the rewards?
So I've got the actually, that was so good that I prepared for this. So one of the like exclusive things was I had like this real cool gold badge edition.
Oh yeah.
Printed. So I had 40 of those made. I'm gonna make 20 available. I already sold, I think, like 7 or 8 at my art show a couple of days ago. So that's like a sweet thing. I've got I got here the normal edition is ready to go.
Nice.
And then I went full sketch cover, buddy.
There you go.
So I actually got to fulfill one of these the other day, which was super fun. I'm going to make a post of it soon. I got to draw Venom swinging on a dude's company name. And so I had just like a total blast with that. So that's where like it starts with, as far as like Chiasm goes. I've got stickers and prints and stuff ready to go as well. But then the awesome aspect of being able to work in partnership with Mark and everybody is that we've got like tiers built where you can get both my books and some of the LKC books. So we've got like some where it's like your starter pack bundle where you'll get like a handful of LKC stuff. You've got some where it's like my picks, where I get to highlight like some of the books that I look at and like it makes me feel like a 7-year-old again. And then you've got like the spinner rack is what we're calling it, where it's like you just get everything. A little pricey, but it like you get like all the eye candy on your shelf all at once. And then we've got the top tier is geographically located. You got to be close to me, but it's called Ink Everywhere, and it's going to be you get the gold badge, the normal book, and then you get to get a hand-sized chiasm themed tattoo by myself.
That's awesome.
It's kind of fun. It was Mark's idea. I can't even take full credit for it. But then we're gonna have like fun stretch goals. Like if I hit A, I'll live stream myself tattooing myself with a little chiasm thing.
Nice.
If we hit B, when Mark comes up to Toronto, I'm gonna strap his ass in the chair and give him a cool chiasm tattoo. And then and we can keep building with that. I'm working on a variant. And by working on, I mean, it's like it's stewing up here, but I'll be able to sit down and crack that out over the course of the Kickstarter. And then I'm going to see what else. I'm going to see if I can get involved with some of the other artists from LKC and see if they want to put some fan art or some variants together. And just make it a very art driven, I've got retailer bundles that I want to put together to make it easy for shops to grab 5 books and set them free in the world as well. Again, like all the other stuff, the swag, like LKC is really good about making everybody super happy as far as like you open your package, you get bookmarks and postcards and trading cards and stickers and like, basically everything except for the washers for under your kitchen sink. But so I'm going to take a lead from that. And, the better the campaign does, the more I can put out there to be able to pack envelopes with.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And what's so this is probably a stupid question because you have Mark in the US and you're in Canada. So is for shipping between the countries, is Mark going to ship US packages for you?
I'm sure glad you asked that. That's one of the best parts about what we were talking about was that by kind of having both sides of the border covered, we can offer the same shipping cost Canadian versus, and we did all the number crunching, and it's going to make sense for Mark to be able to handle US distribution and me to handle Canadian distribution. So you're not going to like, unless you're unfortunately from like the, Australia, sorry guys, or the EU, where it's going to be at like that $30 or above price point. We want to keep everything under $20, right? And so it's going to really open up the access point. I think across the continent, it's the best way to do like a good handshake.
That's awesome. And if a US person wants to, can they get a Canada shipment? That because it just comes across friendlier and nicer when you guys ship.
I guess that's like one of those put it in the special notes thing, right?
Yeah. Could I please have a Canadian?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. I want that maple syrup edition.
I am going to make a quick comment here that's nothing to do with the show. My computer is being a little weird. I don't think it's affected the live stream. Before I came live, it's randomly, my computer's old, okay? But it's telling me to activate Windows. Windows has been activated for a decade on this thing. And now it's doing some other weird things. So if I disappear, y'all, I'm so sorry. I'll probably rejoin from my phone. But so far I don't think it's affected the stream. So, but that's just in case.
Hope not, because this is my best work so far.
So I love all the tiers. I love that it's art driven. This is probably a weird question because 0 isn't even out yet, but what comes next? Like, I know that you had so many, you've already pre-planned so many issues. Are you reworking issue 1 now, or is issue 1 going to be re-released kind of as is, or what's next?
Well, if I released issue 1 after taking this section out of it, it'd be a little anemic. So I've already started to build it up and flesh it out to kind of, introduce like present day Desmond Phillips a little bit more robustly. And then from there, I think that the best course of action would be to, like readdress what I've created and punch it up both with the lettering and the artwork. And then once the next Kickstarter comes, I want to be able to offer more of a trade paperback where people get 3-4 issues at the same time. again, it works a little bit better for shipping, where if like the product you buy is more than the shipping that it costs, I think people feel better with that. But I've got 9 stories completed that are basically like really solid framework for, some I might have to touch a little bit, some I might have to touch a lot, some I might not even have to touch because I love the flow, right? I might just have to format it. The 10th book I set out a while ago, hand drawing completely. And I hit a life happens roadblock on that, but it is, I'd say it's like 2/3 inked and mostly written. So like that's something else that I can kind of double down on with more success in the future. But I think the big thing that I learned is not to panic about trying to get a book out monthly by myself anymore. And so just kind of utilizing everything that I've learned to continue developing the story, because the whole arc of Chiasm is like it takes like things that actually happened to me in my life, and then things that I obviously worry about and I'm inspired by, and like everything, it kind of matches it in. So like and it happens kind of organically too, like the kind of concept of like having these aliens, like this alien species, discover that this race of across the universe or whatever are utilizing their DNA to enhance their own people and stuff like that, and then getting cheesed off because it's like intellectual property theft or something, right? And then like in my brain, like there's a whole development of them like confronting humans. There's like a big conflict, and then there's another thing where it's like and then within the aliens within the hosts, they're like all concerned because they don't want to have to fight their own people, and then like then they learn how to work together, but then it becomes like a faction of like the alien based religion, and there's zealots and like all this other stuff. So it's like it's infinite like storytelling on my end. It's just a matter of like, when can I make it all happen?
Right.
And but as far as it goes, like I've taken some really cool directions with it, as far as like on a side note, I got involved with a visual assist reading app called Visling out of the States there. And they're turning my issue 0 into a like an Audible comic book.
That's cool.
So they've got like some really cool stuff, like press and hold on the page for like a free explore mode, and they're labeling every surface in the page and stuff like that. So you're going to be able to see book on shelf, little boy with eyeball missing, like really cool things. And then they'll be casting voice actors and stuff like that, so that you get like a really robust experience. So that was a really cool thing as far as like achieving my goal of making Chiasm, or my books in general, a like an accessible thing for everybody. And so it kind of allowed me to open up what I want to do with the rest of comic books. So like Chiasm's story is settled for the next 9 issues. I can build with it. From there, I also worked on another book called The Man from Scratch. And that's a very limited text-based graphic novel about just like the creative process and the journey and within your brain. And then I've got an all ages title that I am putting together that Mark has seen, and it is the super wicked White Cell Squadron.
I love it.
So that's my homage to the Power Rangers, and it's going to be my all ages title that I want to try to get into every children's hospital.
Nice.
And it's all, so when I was doing chemotherapy as a kid, my parents explained white blood cell counts and stuff like that as the White Ranger invading my body, or being put into my body by the doctors to fight the monsters that are like trying to take down my brain. And so I think that like just having fun with that, and robots fighting monsters, and preteens or teenagers in armor and stuff like that, it's something that's going to be really cool too. So I think the development of the Chiasm story has really allowed me to know what I want to have as a primary trajectory on that, and then kind of point me in the direction of what I want to be able to bring to people for like in other directions too. So,
hey Mark, has anybody told you Doug's a machine?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's that goes back to the type of the amount of submissions that we receive, because there's a big gap between you have your Image and Dark Horse and those types, and then there's this big gap before, like, I guess, where someone can take a story, because usually like Image wants to see like a whole story arc already done. They want to see like all these things. And so the amount of submissions I receive is everything from like, I've written something, there's no art, or hey, do you want to buy a character off of us? Then you have folks like Doug or Ray Garza, who did Tank McGregor, who's basically just like, I have a book, I'm printing them, I'm doing all these things, and really, it speaks a lot to their commitment and organizational skills. So then all we have to do is really be just a megaphone, and it's also very liberating when people know what they want to do, and they know the things that, they're already looking at, step 3, 4, and 5 in the process. Because, the amount of shiny objects that come into my orbit, like I wouldn't even be able to, help develop that, and do those these books justice if it was all on the publisher's shoulders, so, I love the fact that, Doug's got his stories, Doug's got his brand, he's got what he wants to do with the stories himself, and then what he wants to do with those stories, in real space with real people, whether it's, working with children's hospitals or, doing things in art galleries and things like that. Like, he's got it very much, fully fleshed out in terms of what he wants to do with his storytelling and art. And it's super helpful, also and inspirational for giving our other artists, like ideas of like, oh shit, like maybe, maybe I can, borrow and steal a little bit of that,
That's awesome. So the Kickstarter launches tomorrow. About what time?
I think I'm going to crack it at 11 a.m.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And what time zone are you on?
I'm on Eastern time zone. So I don't know.
Okay. So 11 my
for
time.
Nova Scotia or, but 11 my time.
Fantastic. And so there's already been Dan's one of them in the stream chat saying that how you're going to crush it. I've dropped the link for this in the chat. I'm going to drop it again before we leave, and then when I post the episode on podcast, we'll have it in the show notes also. But if anybody out there wants to, you can check it out. Go to the comments section, click on that link, and click notify me on launch. People don't realize how at least much of an ego boost that is for creators, or at least maybe not ego boost, but reassurance, anxiety calmer is perhaps a better term for it, to see that number go up. So get notified on launch. It helps Doug. It helps the campaign through the Kickstarter algorithm. And you get notified when it launches, and you can back this because it's going to be awesome. Awesome. Well, let's start wrapping up here with a couple things I'd like to ask people, everybody. What was your first comic? Either one of you, do you remember?
Go ahead, Mark.
It was the first one I actually bought was just like a random Excalibur, and it was Nightcrawler and Shadowcat, just like transporting from something, and I haven't even caught up to that. I'm actually in the process of rereading all of X-Men in chronological order. I'm somewhere awesome. in the hidden years between when the original run ended and before Chris Claremont picked it up. So, but that was, and I've been X-Men since then. That's now I'm getting all the deleted scenes that that my like elementary school age Mark wanted his whole life.
That's awesome. Doug?
So the quick answer used to be issue 68 of Spawn. Okay. But after combing through my memory banks, going even farther back, I got a stack of Captain Canucks. when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I remember thinking that I was like, when I saw Captain America, I remember thinking like, oh, what a cheap knockoff.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. What is, again, either one of you who wants to go first, it's fine. What is one piece of advice you'd give to somebody out there that is just, they have this story idea in their head, they want to make a comic book, they just don't know how to start?
I would say make one scene, like, whether it takes, it's 2 pages or 3 pages. You got to make something to see how good you are at it or how terrible you are at it. And you'll be surprised at what things you love and what things you hate. But just start making pages and start showing them to friends.
I would say don't make excuses for yourself. I think that through all the conversation I've had so far, it's like, oh well, I'm a writer, but I can't draw, or I'm a good draw, like I can draw, but I can't write. But it's like, yeah, it's kind of a cop out. Like we're living in a golden age where like you can access any tutorial by like any heavy hitter, and they're going to give
Yeah.
you something to be able to make something out of. So it's like if you can't draw, you can take a sketching course and learn how to like at least slap together a concept so that somebody else can see it and be like, oh,
Mhm.
I get it, and then they can help build with you. Because I hate waiting for people. I do it all myself, whether it's for like the bane or the boon of the project. Like I know that I'm going to get better as I continue sharpening every instrument. And I believe that like anybody that makes an excuse that is like them just lying to themselves, they really do themselves a disservice because everybody has infinite potential. You just gotta you gotta take that 15 minutes while your kids are eating gummy bears and watching bubble guppies to sketch a little something, or stay up an extra 2 hours even if you got to work tomorrow to write a story. Like and then as Mark says, you take what like I'm telling you to apply yourself, and you take like if you're working digitally, you take your rough sketch, you draw a rectangle, you put it in there, and then you write the man sat on the toilet and it was a good fart, and like, boom, it's a story. Like if is it good, is it bad, doesn't matter. You took the step and you applied yourself. So no excuses, apply yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I love that because we are in the golden age of technology right now, where anybody can learn anything. The world's knowledge is truly at our fingertips, and
Totally.
I mean, hell, I've learned so much. I built my daughter a room. I didn't know how to do that before watching YouTube. We added a room to the basement. What the fuck,
Sick.
like, I
Yeah,
mean, but anybody can do that now.
totally.
And there's all sorts of free programs even that can help.
Mhm.
Free art programs. That's
Yep.
awesome. That's awesome. Chiasm, guys, launching tomorrow. Chiasm issue 0. You're gonna want to back it. Trust me. Doug is legit. Everything you see here plus more. Doug, did you hand letter this one?
Yeah, I sure did.
I
Um,
remember when you was it issue 6. I think you hand lettered the
Yeah,
first
I
time.
jumped over to hand, and then I got a little bit tighter since then. So it's a lot more legible, a lot more fun. Even like my love for it is like the cover was a marker drawn project, and then the inside's digitally rendered. But I still really enjoy um, getting better and better at hand lettering and finding new ways to identify that stuff. So it's all hand lettered, man.
You are a machine. You are. Um, that's amazing. Mark, what's next for Lesser Known after Chiasm?
This is one of the test cases I think we've suffered in the past of not really pushing the art forward. We've done those batches and bundles before. And this is one of the first times where we're really focusing on one creator, letting that one creator do things like the sketch covers and the custom prints, all that kind of stuff. Because, when we let creators and artists innovate, on their own, that it's way better than anything that I can, dream of myself. I can make suggestions. So after this, yeah, we'll have some Kickstarters coming out in as early as November, maybe October, and then 2023. We got 15 books that are done, just not released.
Oh
So
wow.
and thank you for people like Dan Price who give me a swift kick in the butt, and say, hey, you get this stuff out, you know. So and then Tales from the Dispatch Volume 3, that's going to be shipping soon. Same thing with Tank McGregor and Digital Lizards of Doom. So I got a lot of Kickstarters to package up and send out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight, Doug, Mark. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook, Cross Eye Comics and Lesser Known Comics. Its Kickstarter launches tomorrow. Chiasm issue 0, but you've heard him. It's not really an issue 0. He's already got through issue 10 planned out. I mean, it's ready to go.
It's a friendly handshake.
Yeah. I dropped that link again in the comment section so that you can get notified on launch, and back day one, help build that momentum. So guys, thank you again. Brian will be back in 2 weeks. We'll have another episode in 2 weeks. Hopefully my computer's not doing weird things in 2 weeks. And I want to thank our sponsor again, Comics Wellspring, for sponsoring the Dispatch and doing all sorts of cool things for the indie comic community. And of course, our patrons. If you too want to be a patron and support the Dispatch, we are a 501c3. That means it's tax deductible. And you can go to patreon.com/indiecomicsdispatch and become a patron for as little as $3 a month. Guys, thanks again. And we'll catch you everybody out there next time.
See you, Brett.
Thanks so much, Brett.